When to call in a pro. So this is a big thing. I mean, I personally, as a trainer, I might be a little biased, but I think that when you get a new dog, you should get a new trainer or an old trainer if you have one you like. Um, there's a lot of adjustment that goes through. There's a lot of people who haven't had dogs in years, or again, have had bad information and don't really know what to do. When you get a puppy, don't wait until you have problems. So get a puppy trainer in when you first get your puppy, like within a week of getting your puppy, and so that you can talk about the proper way of house training, the proper way of socializing safely, what types of things to teach your dog and not teach your dog, how to find a good veterinarian. I mean, there's lots of things we can help you with that get you started well. Talk about management so that you don't wait until later when your puppy starts, resource guarding or et cetera. Right? Get it started well so you have a support system in and you have a good source of good information. Google will give you all sorts of bad information as well as good information. And unless you know what you're looking for, you can make a lot of mistakes. You also should call in a professional if you have an older dog and you're seeing resource guarding, which again is they're guarding their food bowl, they're guarding their bones, they're guarding people. Sometimes they do that, guarding spaces like couches and chairs and so on and so forth. If you see reactivity or territorial behavior, so if you start to suddenly see your dog is yelling at people every time they come in, or on leash, they're reacting to other dogs or people, etc. Signs of fear, you definitely should talk to a trainer who specializes in fear, who knows something about fear, and aggression, of course, and separation anxiety. These are all things that you need help with. Don't wait and don't just throw, spaghetti at the wall seeing what sticks. Okay? Talk to somebody who's qualified. My dog is going to start barking at me any moment. Where's your toy? Go get your toy. Okay, so what kind of professional? Here's the thing. There are a bunch of us out there. First off, if you see a sudden change in behavior, it should be considered a health issue first. So you need to go to your vet. You need to make sure that there's not like a urinary tract infection or pain or organic issue like kidneys or, thyroid. There's all sorts of things that can affect behavior. So most cases, like I see dogs that have suddenly started to get behavior. My dog is barking. This is life of a dog professional, right? The dog who barks. You really need to make sure that the vet gets seen first. Certified professional dog trainer. So that's what I am, but there are other certifications out there. You kind of have to know what to look for. The KPA, CTP is somebody who's gone to the Karen Pryor Academy. The Academy for Dog Trainers. I cannot believe Shebang is barking during this. See, not everybody has perfect dogs, people. Behavior consultants, you want to look for CDBC, CBCCKA. These are people who have certifications in behavior, not just dog training, okay? And then there are behaviorists. These are people who have degrees in animal behavior in order to get these certifications, okay? A veterinary behaviorist is a veterinarian with a specialty in behavior. And they are often necessary if you have medical issues or if you have severe behavior related to medical issues, that sort of thing. Like sometimes a trainer will come work with you for a while, and if you don't see any improvement, they'll say, okay, it's time to go see a vet behaviorist because they're probably going to need medication for the issue to help work through the issue. So you have to kind of look at what kind of pro you want. The certified professional dog trainers, the list that I put up are actually, there are more than just those, but it would be a very long list. And there are certainly people who are certified that do different kinds of training. So you might have to do some research on that. But generally, the ones that I've listed are ones that do positive reinforcement training, have a good background and knowledge about behavior theory, and really know how to change behavior. Okay, so when you're hiring a trainer, look for valid certifications, absolutely, or experience. So there are some really good trainers out there that don't have certifications. that don't consider them very valuable or worth the money, et cetera, et cetera. What you want to see from those people, like if somebody refers you to somebody, is evidence that they have done continuing education. So whether they actually go and write the tests for certification is less important than if they've actually just been doing continuing education, because at least then you know they've got the up-to-date methodologies and they know a little bit about what they're doing. What you always should ask is, what tools are they going to use with your dog? So are they going to use a clicker? Are they going to use a slip leash? Are they going to use a prong collar? Are they going to use an e-collar? I'm not judging any one of those, though I'm not a fan of most. But you need to know ahead of time what they're going to use, okay? And then you ask, what exactly are you going to do to my dog if something goes wrong? And what exactly will you do if my dog does something right? So that you don't go in there and find, partway into your session that, they're going to smack your dog on the head when it does something wrong, because nobody wants to have their dog smacked on the head. So you have to make sure that you ask these questions before you spend your money, okay? But also know that even if you do go to a class or go to a trainer and this stuff happens, you have every right, if you do not like what is happening, to take your dog and go away. You have every right to do that. It is your job to protect your dog. This goes the same like with going to a veterinarian. If you don't like how they handle your dog, you have every right to say, don't do that to my dog. Okay. And if you don't want to say it, call me, I'll say it. So red flags. So if you're looking at, or they're talking to somebody and this comes up, or if you notice it on their website, red flags are talk of alpha or leadership in forceful terms, like, oh, you must have structured walks and you have to be forceful, make sure your dog knows that you don't like that sort of thing. Those, again, are signs of trainers who have not moved into the 21st century and do not have upgraded continuing education. If they're anti-treat, that's also a problem. Mostly because most good trainers know, even balanced trainers know, that if you're going to do behavior modification or you can do any training, that you teach stuff through positive reinforcement first, and then later you add, if you want, you proof things through punishment. So, excuse me, I'm giving my dog something. Yeah. So yeah, you need to make sure you know what you're doing. And you need to make sure that your trainers knows what they're doing, because there are no regulations about training. Anybody who has ever had a dog could put up a sign that says, I'm a dog trainer. So don't waste your money. Use your money towards somebody who has spent time doing what needs to be done. And thank you for attending. We're going to have all questions now, so feel free to hang out. You're still on mute.
Hello, I have a question. What about the clicker? When you're training the dog, do you really need a clicker, or is just the treat enough?
You don't need a clicker. I just find clickers as a tool for certain exercises are actually really helpful. You can still use a verbal marker. A clicker is just a marker. It says, that's the thing. That's the right thing. There's a cookie coming. Okay, so they still get a cookie. But to me, it clarifies to the dog exactly why they're getting the cookie. That's all. So it's not necessary. I show all of my clients about the clicker, and then they decide if they want to use it or not, because it doesn't mean. Can you talk about the fight I have over the harness every walk? Ruckus. I love that name, by the way. I have a cat named Ruckus. Give me one sec. Come here, you. Somebody's collar is clanking on the dish that I just gave my dog. Okay, so let's talk quickly about harnesses. Harnesses, are you the gentleman? You have a pug? I'm assuming, I don't know. Are you man or woman? I don't even know. He, she, they. Okay, and you have a pug, correct? A Yorkie Puggle. Woo, that's fun. Okay, so small dogs especially have a hard time sometimes with harnesses. I don't know if it's actually the harness is the problem, or if it's the fact that we lean over them to put the harness on. So it may be important to think about how you put the harness on your dog. Like if you could pick her or him up, it goes on her feet. Okay, so it's one of the ones that comes up and clicks on the back. Yes, okay. Those are hard generally, just because it's hard to get the dog maneuvered properly to get their feet into the bits at the step-in harness. I don't like step-in harnesses for that reason. It's a big struggle all the time. So you have a couple of different options. One is to try to put something, let me see, dog's probably food motivated. So you could put a little bit of like a Kong with a little bit of peanut butter or something in it for her to lick, and then just lift her front body, put the thing on, get it on. Something to keep her busy while you're doing it. That helps. There is also, if you wanted to do something really complicated, but I don't know if you do or not, some people like the challenge with a clicker, to shape them actually putting their feet in the holes, which is kind of fun. But that's me because I'm a trainer geek, so of course. But that's what I would do, is use food as a bit of a distraction. They get a treat, the harness goes on. After a while, they'll be better about getting the harness on in general. But honestly, I just find the whole step-in harnesses to just be a bit of a challenge regardless. Do you live with somebody who can give you a hand with it, or are you trying to do it yourself? Okay. Yeah, so I would make sure she gets treats. And honestly, if she hates it that much, I'd switch harnesses. I'd probably look at getting one of those little vest harnesses, it has a the little fabric piece at the front type of thing. They're just easier to get on and off, like the ones that go over their head. And you can just lure the head through the harness and then just pop it on. So that would probably be easier. Okay, yeah. I like those ones, especially for the small dogs. Goes on head first. And again, you still have to teach the dog to put their head through. Like I actually have a picture of my old dog from before. I worked so much on putting things over her head. We did a lot that when I bought a new harness, all I did was take it out of the package and it wasn't even ready to go on her and she just stuck her head in. So the more you work on that, the easier it is to do. Anyone else have questions? You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Maggie. This has been great. I have a question right now. I'm having trouble getting my new rehomed very good girl to go potty inside my fence yard. Any tips?
There was a bunch of stuff when you just talked, so I couldn't hear the whole question. Having trouble getting.
So it's a new dog that was in another home. Got to the new home. She's very good, but when she goes potty, it's difficult to go inside the fence yard.
Okay, she'll only pee on blocks.
Let's see. Judy, can you give us more information? Only outside on the leash. So no, in the yard, which will be easier for everyone. For everyone.
Yes, I do come to your house. Just Karen asked another question. Okay, so Judy, sometimes with a newly rehomed dog, being loose in a yard is kind of stressful for them. They also may have never had the opportunity to go in a yard. She may have always gone while on a leash. So what I would probably do is take her on a leash, but take her into the backyard, walk her around the backyard, see if she'll go. Make sure you reward her if she does go, and give her time, because a lot of times it's just they're not familiar with the space and they're not sure if they're allowed to go pee in the backyard. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, and it might take some time. I mean, I've met a lot of dogs who actually, there was a dog I used to walk who also was a rehome, and he had been sort of tethered in a backyard in suburbia for his entire life. And he was 4 or 5 years old. Once he figured out that he could go out on walks, he never wanted to poop or pee in the backyard again. But that's because he'd spent the whole entire time, his whole life, in a backyard. So sometimes we just have to assume there's reasons for the behavior and do our best to help make the dog comfortable, and hopefully the behavior will come along, because we can't really force them to go pee. Yeah. Is this Willow? Whiskey. Sorry, close. Look how close I was. This is somebody I know from Facebook. I was like, I think it's her. I'm not sure. Yes. So that's what I would do. I mean, new rescues, we don't, especially if we don't have a lot of history, they can be just weird for a while. Yeah.
So sweet. She sounds like a very sweet girl. Oh.
She is. I've seen some great pictures of her. She's just, yeah. But it takes a while to adjust. That's the thing, right? That's all.
For sure.
Anyone else have questions? How can we get in touch with you for training? Well, you can email me at info@tailspinpetworks.com. So it's Petworks has an X instead of a KS. I always have to say that to people when I'm like, when I chose it, I thought it looked really cool, and now it just